Eagles fans, this is Mike Kaye from NJ Advanced Media, and welcome to the No Huddle Show podcast, where we discuss anything and everything Philadelphia Eagles. You can read our content on NJ.com/Eagles, bookmark that, and you can subscribe to our exclusive Eagles Insider text service, where we'll break news, give you insider observations, and provide in-depth analysis. Through Eagles Extra, you can send questions and comments directly to us, and we'll respond to your phone. With me today, as always, is my fellow Eagles beat reporter, Chris Franklin. Today, we're going to discuss the Eagles' Week 5 matchup against the Panthers, what the Eagles can do to pull off another NFC South upset win, and reasons for optimism during this 3-game slide. So, Chris, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. You know, I know this is a whole different other sport, but when it comes to Ernie Banks, he used to always say, let's play two. And the Eagles are about to start an important stretch here with two NFC South teams within the span of a week. So it's going to be an interesting week to see where this team stacks up, man. How are you doing?
Well, I got to see the new James Bond flick last night.
How was it?
Oh, it was terrific. Picked up a copy of Dave Grohl's memoirs for the flight to Charlotte, and, you know, things are looking up, I guess. Anyway, on that note, let's start off with some positive stuff, because obviously the last 3 weeks have been mostly negative. We spoke to Devonta Smith on Thursday, and he talked about how he likes to focus on the negatives and not the positives, because the positives, he knows what he did to do well. The negatives, he wants to figure out how he can fix them. And I was just curious, as a former athlete, what your take was on that mindset, and why do you think it works for a guy, especially a young guy like Devonta?
I think it's unique in that way, in the fact that most guys usually want to shelter themselves and think of the positive, you know, because there's a lot of voices that come from the outside. You know, you hear guys like us, you hear fans, as much as some players say they don't pay attention to it, but they do when it comes to social media. You see a lot of that stuff, and I think they want to shelter themselves from having to hear that and dwell on it and it weighing them down. The fact that he says he wants to listen to look and seek the negative stuff, I think it's an interesting point of view. I mean, he seems like the type of guy that wants to be great. And I say that in the fact that he wants to find every little detail that he's not perfect at and trying to address it. And you like to see guys like that. I just hope that long term he's not, or either he has the character where it's just, okay, I'll just shrug off. I don't care what you said. It's just like a bulletproof. I'm not going to let it go to it. Or he just decides, hey, you know what? It's a short-term thing early in his career, because, I mean, negative stuff can weigh on you in the long run, and it gets rough out there. So I thought it was a unique take that he did that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great lesson for kids who want to consistently improve. Like, it's great to get the pats on the back, but I think making yourself a better person, making yourself a better player, making yourself better in whatever it is you do is the goal that one should have if they want to reach the pinnacle of what they're doing. Obviously, Devonta Smith was a top 10 pick. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He won 2 national championships. It's worked out for him so far, I'd say. Another positive note is, after missing 2 weeks, Jordan Mailata is going to be back in the lineup for the game against the Panthers. He's been battling a knee injury. Nick Sirianni told us today on Friday that he had a terrific week of practice and that he should be good to go. I'm guessing he's going to line up at right tackle, just because Andre Dillard doesn't really have the versatility to play on the right side. I think they want Jack Driscoll in the starting lineup, but they feel like he's good at guard. He was supposed to play guard last week. Lane Johnson will be out for this as he continues to deal with his personal matter. And I speak for Chris in saying, you know, we hope everything works out for Lane Johnson. But I do think the Eagles are in uniquely good shape based on how Jack Driscoll played last week, based on the way Andre Dillard's played the past 2 weeks, based on the fact that Jordan Mailata is a huge upgrade over both of them in any area of the field. What's your take on Jordan Mailata potentially lining up at right tackle?
Well, I think it bolsters this offensive line. The thing I'm worried about is it was that right knee that he injured, that one he got rolled up on a couple weeks ago, and I want to see if he lines up on that light side. That's the one. That's his kick leg, the one he gets out there quickly to establish his position against some of these the Panthers defensive ends. And I want to see how well it holds up and how quickly and how much weight he can support on that. Because if he's about 60, 70%, he's just out there just to be a guy just a veteran guy who knows what he's doing. And because he knows how he's the best option you have at right tackle, that gets a little worrisome, because then when you're the quarterback and you see that pressure coming from your face, and it quickens that internal clock you have, and you have to start looking around. So I want to see if he does wind up playing right tackle early on, how that knee holds up to do that. If that's the case, then you start looking at your guard position. I think in the interior part, you start looking who's going to play where. I thought Dickerson played well on that left side, and that wound, I think he looks better on that side when it comes to a hole. And then you look at possibly Driscoll or Herbig being the right guard. And I feel comfortable with either of those guys there. I thought Herbig played well last week, and Driscoll has shown that he's a capable NFL guy who's serviceable, can play multiple positions. So overall, I don't think it'll be a problem heading against the Panthers. You just hope that Mailata's knee holds up.
Yeah, and I think this is a 1 week sort of situation. I think Mailata would go back to left tackle once Lane Johnson obviously comes back, whenever that is. Obviously, there's a lot of mystery around that. But, yeah, I think, like you said, Dickerson played well at left guard. I think they really like Driscoll as a right guard coming into the league. A lot of executives and scouts thought that he was a better fitted guard than tackle. And Dillard's played fine. I mean, he nobody's going to say he's going to, Wally Pip Jordan Mailata or anything like that, but he's played relatively well. It hasn't been a disaster. Yeah, thanks. So, I think when you're looking at this potential switch up, some people are going to be upset because they feel like they're moving Mailata to benefit Dillard, but really, I think getting your best five guys on the line makes sense. Plus, Nate Herbig's a pretty good sixth man as the swing interior guy. I think they really like Brett Toth. Another thing to keep in mind is Sua Opeta, who they just brought up last week from the practice squad. He's now on the COVID reserve list. The Eagles, who technically boost one of their guys from the practice squad without taking up one of their 2 games of eligibility of regular elevation. So what that means is it's a third potential game where they could use a guy before he's subject to waivers. LaRaven Clark's back healthy on IR. It wouldn't shock me if he's kind of like the emergency tackle behind, Brett Toth. So that way Toth can play guard. If there's an injury at center, Herbig would go in. If there's an injury at guard, depending on where it is, Toth could go in. And if there's an injury at tackle, you're pretty much screwed at that point. But then LaRaven Clark could handle those assignments. I think, as we get into previewing this game, I think the Eagles can really run the ball well on this Panthers team. The Cowboys ran for over 200 yards against them. Dak had, I think, 40 yards rushing. So they're susceptible to the run. Shaq Thompson, their very talented linebacker, is not going to play. Christian McCaffrey, their Pro Bowl running back, he's going to be doubtful, which could be a huge break for the Eagles. Talk to me about this matchup. First, let's talk about Jalen Hurts versus this defense. And I feel like this is a Devonta Smith, Miles Sanders game. What do you think?
It really was. And I'll start out with this, saying I was really shocked that the Panthers tried to use the 2 high safeties a lot early on in that game against the Cowboys, looking at the film again, because I thought they would learn their lesson, see what happened against the Eagles, but they did that early on, and it's made me scratch my head a little bit. But going against this defense, and especially a defensive coordinator, Phil Snow, one thing that he's liked to do across his time when he was with Temple, when he was at Baylor, and now with Panthers, he likes to disguise a lot of the pressures, and he likes to bring it if he feels like he's not getting enough. And I think this is going to be one of the games where you're going to see Jalen Hurts' scramble ability come into play here, because I wouldn't be surprised, given that they don't have Lawson for this game, I wouldn't be surprised if they start to see more corner blitzes or more overloading, especially to the side of Andre Dillard. I think that would be a side if I get toward Jalen Hurts' blind side, go against a guy who, to me, out of all the 5 on the edges, I think that's that might be the weakest part there. I wouldn't be surprised seeing that a little bit more. But going against this defense, the middle of the field is there. And thinking, looking at that, and it becomes one of those things where you have Hurts, his scrambling ability may force this team to play more zone. I think you even though I think it'll be best for the Panthers to blitz, they may be forced to play more zone because they don't want Hurts to beat them with the legs, and it gives the defensive backs and that basically that back seven all their eyes and attention to be able to pay attention to Hurts and make sure he doesn't pick up too many yards and instead of being a man where they have to trail him. So I think this is one of those things where he can have another good day if he's patient enough. It might be one of those things where you see Devonta Smith going across the middle, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert in the middle, take the 5 to 10 yards that you get in that their area and start building upon drives. And he has to be patient, not wanting to force a ball in there because there's some gaps in that. And I still see some gaps in the middle of that field. The secondary, I thought you won't have to see Stephon Gilmore, who the Panthers traded for this week. So I think the Eagles dodged a bullet there because he's still on PUP too. So the Eagles dodged a bullet there, but it's there's yards to be had against there. I think even though they statistically are ranked third in the league in total yards of defense, they haven't outwardly impressed me to the point where you say, hey, you know what, they're like the Buffalo Bills defense or some of the other top tier defenses in the league. So the Eagles could have some success and move the ball against them.
Yeah, this definitely feels like a winnable game in the middle of this brutal October stretch. They still have to face Tampa Bay, and then they have to go to Vegas, which seems like a toss-up. But if the Eagles can come out of this at this stretch at like 3-4, they're feeling pretty good about themselves. But in order to get to 3-4, they probably have to beat Carolina. Tampa Bay seems like another home loss. But not to get too far ahead of ourselves, talk to me about the Eagles defense versus Panthers offense, potentially minus CMC.
See, the thing the Eagles defense is a problem is they play a lot of that Tampa 2 look, that cover 2 thing to protect us so they won't get beat deep. And I know Darius Slay is a better man corner than he is zone, and Steven Nelson as well too. I just see they're going to have to play this against because DJ Moore is a really good wide receiver. He's third in the league when it comes to receptions, and he's really tough after the catch. And Robbie Anderson is a really fast wide receiver who's a really good deep threat, and it's all going to come to stopping the run. And in order to protect from beating those guys up deep, you're going to have to keep those safeties back once again, and not for a third straight week. And this front seven has to find a way to get enough, not only get enough pressure and get into the gaps, but get some penetration in there and not over pursue them. Just basically play sound defensive-minded defense, and which is harder than
than it sounds, right?
Yeah, it's especially when it comes to it's a lot of that stuff when it comes to gaps. I know there's a lot of intricacies, shades and everything else. A lot of it is basically say, hey, this is your responsibility on this look. Just do your job. And it seems like you see like 10 guys do their job against this defense, and then you have the one guy that either jumps off sides or over penetrates or doesn't watch the backside, and then offenses are catching onto that, and they make the Eagles pay for that. And I really that Sam Darnold's played a lot better, but he's injured. He's turnover prone. He really is. And if this is a game for Fletcher Cox to really come out of his shell and take it personally that everybody's talking about him slowing down and be that angry guy he seems to be a lot of times, but to use that anger against the Carolina Panthers offensive line and to be disruptive and force a couple turnovers, it's possible because this if Cox has at least 2 sacks, I think 2 sacks or forces at least a turnover, I think this team wins.
Yeah, I think they have to win the turnover battle. I think it really comes down to Jalen Hurts outplaying Sam Darnold. Like, obviously, they're not playing against each other in a literal sense, but I think if Jalen Hurts has a game like he had against the Chiefs or against Atlanta, they win this game easily, actually. But they need to run the ball. And look, I think the narrative about running the ball more has kind of gone out, out of our brains. Like it's been like a overused narrative. I just think you can really run on this team. And I think Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell are probably the 2 freshest backs in the NFL right now. I think when you look at this at this team, I think you've got to say to yourself, you can run on this defense. And look, if you have two fresh horses that are willing to stallion on out, go for it. I mean, this is the game where you can just say, hey, Miles Sanders, go break out. You want more carries down the road? Show us that you are the guy that we think you are, or that everybody else thinks you are, or that fantasy football players think you are. And I think this could be a really big game for either Miles Sanders or Kenny Gainwell. If they run a lot of hurry up, I think Kenny Gainwell is going to get a lot of action. He's been terrific. My rookie grades come out tomorrow. He has easily the highest grade of the rookie class, the 5th round pick. So I like that. You look at the corners. Dante Jackson's got good stats. He's a good ball hawk, but every now and then he makes like a really bad mental mistake. There's a reason why they keep trading for cornerbacks when they have him. They also drafted J.C. Horn, who's injured. They traded for C.J. Henderson, former 1st round pick. He was a disaster in Jacksonville outside of, I think, his first 2 games. I think Devonta Smith's route running ability is going to be trouble for Henderson and Jackson. I also think, Jeremy Chin might be playing spy in this game, which would be really ironic considering the Eagles basically decided between him and Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round last year. So the poetry of that is not lost on me. Look, I think this is a good matchup for the Eagles. I really do. I know the Panthers are 3-1, the Eagles are 1-3, but I just have a feeling that Eagles fans who travel to this game are going to be very happy. I could be wrong. You can light me up on Twitter or in these comments, but I don't know. This is the first matchup I've felt good about for the team that we cover in a very long time. So I don't think anybody expected them to beat the Chiefs. No one expected them to beat the Cowboys. Some of us expected them to beat the 49ers. You and I agree that we think that they're going to beat the Panthers. So give me your score prediction for this one.
I believe I have it. For me, it keeps fluctuating, but I think it's going to be one of those 24-20 type games. I think you're going to see a Jake Elliott is going to be busy early on, but they're going to find their groove. And like you said, this offense, the Panthers defense fits perfectly for what the Eagles offense can do. Spread them out and just run up the middle. Let Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell find a seam, because the Panthers let them open up a lot of lanes. Their defensive tackles, just the way they play, the style they play, sometimes it just opens up a lot of lanes in the middle. And that whoever starts at right guard, along with Jason Kelce and Landon Dickerson, they're going to have an important job ahead of them.
Yeah, I've got it somewhat similar. I think it's going to be a little bit more low scoring. I've got it 20-17. Like you said, I can foresee Jake Elliott being busy to start. I could see this being a 7-6 game at halftime and then going from there. But yeah, I think the Eagles pull this off. I don't think it'll be a convincing win. I think Eagles fans will still be tepid about the future. But I think, like I said, if they can get out of these first 7 games at 3-4, and then they had that game against Detroit, if they can get out of the first half 4-4, everybody's feeling very good about this team moving forward. The panic button has been hit by a few of us, but I think this Eagles team is, look, it's a 17-game season, so it'll be interesting how things turn out. Guys, thanks for joining us. Remember, you can subscribe to Eagles Extra by going to NJ.com/text. That's NJ.com/text. Chris and I have a lot of fun on there. You get instant updates, breaking news, instant analysis, in-game analysis, and we'll do some fun stuff in the coming weeks. Also, remember to subscribe to the No Huddle Show podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. For Chris, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you after the matchup against Carolina.
What's new in podcasting? Here's what we love, courtesy of Acast Recommends.
the award-winning team that created They Walk Among Us, featuring true crime cases from the UK, now bring their unique and bone-chilling podcast to the United States. Dive deep into cases that hit close to the American heartland.
Significant evidence.
With the criminals that walk alongside you, who live next door, or maybe who sleep beside you.
The man they are calling a serial killer.
They Walk Among America is a law and crime podcast network production, a new true crime podcast covering tales of murder and mystery in the United States. Listen to episodes of They Walk Among America on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player.
Acast recommends.